one of the stories that I told in How to Be an Anti-Racist were these two Black queer feminists who, in many ways, directly and indirectly, exposed me during graduate school to Black feminism, and I write about the ways in which I was just deeply intimidated by them, not because they were necessarily like, overbearing in any way, but they were just brilliant. And oftentimes we run away from the brilliant folks when we should be running towards the people who intimidate us with their brilliance, who challenge our sense of self, who challenge, our ideas. But the reason being is we oftentimes consider those folks and even those ideas to somehow be destroying us as opposed to constructing us, right? And I think fundamentally when we think about learning, and when we think about living as essentially a praxis of growth, right? And then how do we grow? We grow just like we grow sort of muscles in which we're constantly breaking down and rebuilding. I think we have to have that sort of sensibility. But I also think specifically as relates to race and racism and even being racist is one of the reasons why I think people avoid and are really fearful, about engaging in these conversations is because how they define the terms. And so it's this common sort of belief that the term racist is this fixed identity, that is essentially fundamentally who a person is. And what I've been trying to sort of demonstrate through history, through anecdotes, through evidence, is that indeed no one is essentially and fundamentally racist or anti-racist. And why is that? Because, so let's say if you take a person who 1 minute says that indeed that slavery is horrible and it needs to end right now. In that moment, that person is being anti-racist. And let's say if in the very next moment in that same speech, that abolitionist also says slavery is so dehumanizing, it has literally made Black people into brutes. They are literally subhuman. And so when slavery ends, we can't give them civil and voting rights. No, they first need to be civilized first. In that moment, they're being racist. I'm emphasizing this because there were so many abolitionists, as our scholars of abolition will tell us, who held both ideas, right? Just like you had civil rights activists who, on the one hand, stated that Jim Crow segregation was horrible and needs to end, but then on the other hand, stated we need to get rid of all those horrible Black teachers. And so I think that we have to recognize human complexity, and we have to recognize the ways in which people hold both racist and anti-racist ideas, and obviously support both racist and anti-racist policies. And the way we do that is by saying, yes, when you're expressing that anti-racist idea, you're being anti-racist. But when you're supporting and pushing that racist policy, you're being racist. And you need to recognize that so that you can get on this path to be anti-racist.